Welcome into the hard count. It's a beautiful day. It's Thursday, July 31st, 2025. The last one on the face of the planet. That's not the only reason why it's a beautiful day, not just because the weather outside is hopefully good where you are, but because when you step outside, it feels like football a little bit. Starts to feel a little bit more like week 0 is about to be here, week 1 about to be here. You know what is here? Fall camp. It's on and popping across the country. As of today, a ton of places opening up. Some places already gotten rolling. Manhattan, Kansas, they've been at it for a minute here. Nebraska been at it the last few days. Some intel from the folks out there in Lincoln a little bit later in the show. But when fall camp is here, that means football is here. That means that it's finally time for us to put talking season behind us, move more into prediction season. We already made our predictions, but football, it's being played behind closed doors, but it's being played across the country. And that's a wonderful thing. So we're glad to have you all a part of this. If you're a college football sicko and you've been braving what the last few months have been across the sports world and the college football world, welcome home. We've made it. Make sure you are subscribed if you're a college football sicko, because we are diving full steam into the 2025 season. We've been doing that for a minute here, but actually this is, I think, the official starting line, as along with media days and things like that. We're rolling into it. All right. Now, on our last show, if you watched the full show on Tuesday, shout out to you for doing that. We gave you our full season predictions, conference title winners, Heisman Trophy winner, playoff prediction, national champion. So today's a great day because we get to put that out there for y'all on Tuesday and then field all the feedback from y'all from Tuesday to Wednesday and to Thursday. And today I want us to address a lot of that pushback we got from the college football playoff predictions that we did for you. So I want to start with probably the most adamant pushback I got, whether it be from the voicemail box, 629-888-3931, whether it be my own social media, whether it be message boards. We got a lot of pushback because we picked LSU to win the national championship. And I've made my affection for LSU very, very clear. The folks in Baton Rouge, they know how I feel about them. They've known how I felt about them for some time now. And I don't think many people have a massive issue with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback or what they did through the portal or even the tradition of what that logo is and what it's been in the college football world. But the number one pushback point I got for this pick was doesn't know who their head coach is. Bro must have forgot Brian Kelly's the head coach in Baton Rouge. That's crazy. Lost all credibility. I want to address this right now, okay? Because I think a lot of the takes around Brian Kelly comes back to this thought of, well, he can't do it because he hasn't done it. Can't win the big one, Brian Kelly. Check the track record, can't do it. Well, first of all, check the track record. I've beat this dead horse to a pulp. I'm going to do it one more time, though. 20 years of coaching, 70% win percentage. Mic drop. But if we got to keep doing this, we'll keep doing it. Can't win the big one. You know who else they said that about? Kirby Smart. He's got 2 national titles now. Jim Harbaugh won a national championship. Ryan Day last year won a national championship. For the longest time, we're talking about Dabo Swinney. People were so down on Dabo Swinney being able to put together a good season at Clemson to the point where they achieved Tier 1 accolades. They coined a phrase around it. They called it Clemsoning. 2 national titles later, nobody's talking about Clemsoning anymore, are they? So what I'm trying to make sure I communicate here clearly, it's such a lazy, tired talking point when you say a coach can't win a big one. What are you basing that off of? You're not in their game planning. You're strictly going off of results and what you've seen happen. And what you've seen happen is him not win the big one just yet, so therefore he can't do it. And then eventually, Ryan Day wins a national championship. Kirby wins 2 national championships. And not only is it proven that that isn't true anymore, it was never true to begin with. Because you saying can't means it's never going to happen. They are incapable of happening. Incapable of that ever happening. I don't see that being the case. Definitely not with this football team. To me, all you can do is the right things. In life, in college football, all you can do is the right things. And I think LSU, especially this offseason, I really think Brian Kelly's gotten there, but especially this offseason, they've done the right things. Austin Thomas, the GM for LSU, has put together the best roster Brian Kelly's had since he's gotten there. I talked to some folks. They think this is the best roster LSU's had since 2019. Last time they won a Natty. Last time they won their opener. Coincidence? I think not. I believe in the build-up here for LSU. All right? I believe in all the things they've done, whether it be from the portal, bringing Garrett Nussmeier back, the continuity on the staff. I believe in all those things. And something that gets lost in the sauce a little bit, and you talk about college football with your buddies in the group chat or whenever you're passing time, is It's really freaking hard to win a national championship. One team is going to win one this year. There's 136. And so whoever doesn't win one, if they have a roster that's maybe capable of being in that conversation, we're very quick to say, see, can't do it. No, it's not can't. It's just, no, it didn't happen for them that year, that specific try. And I think for this year, there is real deal expectations that match what they have on that roster, what they have in-house, what they've been doing over the course of the last few years. So now with it being year 4, I think the way Brian Kelly operates, with him being a little bit more old school, to keep it a buck, I think that takes some time to work how it's supposed to work, if you catch my drift. Like, the old school is old school for a reason. It's not for everybody. Like, Brian Kelly is not afraid to get in your face and yell. It's been well documented. He's not afraid to be a little bit more brash with some of his players. And not everyone responds well to that. Just period. Not everyone's ever responded well to that over the course of history. But I think especially in where we are now in modern college football, where you can transfer the drop of a hat, I think you have to really buy into that. And so now being year 4, if you're at LSU for year 4 Brian Kelly experience, you know what you've signed up for, you know what to expect, and not just like you're in on what you signed up for. You're in on the way that Brian Kelly does things, and you're in on it because you think it's going to win you a national championship. That is the main goal here. I was impressed at SEC Media Days, man. That was the bravado they were walking with. I mean, we got to be in their scrum for their first few minutes at SEC Media Days, a little closed-off room upstairs with the good folks in the Baton Rouge media, and I mean, the over-under on the words national championship, that had to have hit within the first 5 minutes, the over at least. Like, it was jarring to me how openly they were talking about that. So talking doesn't get you anything, but going back to my point here, just because Brian Kelly hasn't done it yet, just because LSU hasn't done it under Brian Kelly, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. They've done the right things. They've got the right pieces. It's about that time right now. Like, in a year where everybody has a new quarterback they're breaking in, it feels like, LSU has the quarterback and the roster and the continuity on the staff, and I think the head coach to go get it done. So miss me with that Brian Kelly slander. Miss me with the, he hasn't done it because he can't win the big one. You can't until you do. And when you do, you realize can't was never actually the right word to use to begin with. So we feel just fine doubling down on Brian Kelly and LSU winning the national championship here in 2025. All right, let's move right along here. I've told y'all, man, one of the best things we get to do on this show that we've installed over the course of this offseason, I'm so fired up for it to be a thing we do here during the season, our voicemail box. Hearing from y'all. If you can, keep them under like 30 seconds so we can get you on the air and make it efficient. 629-888-3931. I put out the call to action on my socials. I said, hey, let me know your problems with our college football playoff picks. And y'all did. I was sorting through those for about like 45 minutes to an hour this morning. A lot of good stuff. One of y'all has a problem with us putting the Aggies in our college football playoff. Go ahead and take a listen.
Hey, calling in from Texas. My biggest issue is you have A&M making the playoffs. They haven't won more than 9 games since 2012. Hook 'em horns.
The sign off there, a little bit telling, right? And I appreciate that. If I were a Texas fan, I'd feel the exact same way, to keep it honest with you. But for those of y'all that haven't watched the full prediction show, I have Texas A&M in the college football playoff as a 10-2 team. I got them in there as a 7 seed. All right, I have them playing Baylor in the first round. So you're hosting a college football playoff game. Really interesting, the discussion around A&M, and really interesting hearing that voicemail. This is not to knock that caller, because, again, I think if I were a Texas fan, I were in your shoes, I'd probably feel the same way. But this is not unique to that caller either. Can anyone give me a current reason as to why A&M is not going to be a college football playoff team in 2025? Current reason. Not, the last couple of years they haven't. Well, Texas 8-4, That's usually how those discussions start when you get pushback around saying A&M is going to be something any given season. And I said before, too, I have never once taken a ride on the hype train for the Texas A&M Aggies. But this year, I'm firmly on that thing. But again, can anybody speak to what this year's team is going to be and tell me why they're not going to be a college football playoff team? You don't believe in Marcel Reed? Your prerogative. That's fine. You don't believe in the skill players? Fine. But when we start the discussion of, Texas 8-4, they haven't, I'm like, okay. The games in 2017 have nothing to do with the games the team is going to play in 2025. Zero. Absolutely zero. Different coach, different players. Heck, different student body, if we want to keep it a buck, at different points in time throughout A&M's history, different renovations. It's all different. Kyle Field looks different, man. And so when we look at A&M, I wonder so much if we just swapped the logos for A&M with someone like, pick any SEC team, Florida, Oklahoma, any logo that wasn't Texas A&M's logo, and you gave them all the information on A&M and said, what do you think about them? I think the approval rating would come back a lot higher. I think a lot more people would have A&M in their college football playoff because you look at them and say, okay, top 10 returning production, solid. Returning a quarterback when the rest of the country, let alone your conference, is trying to figure out their new quarterback, got it. Okay, you bring back a guy who is 6 yards a carry in the backfield, plus you get another high-profile guy in the backfield who's going to be back healthy in Reuben Owens. Okay, got it. Oh, you went out and got a stud via the portal at wide receiver. Okay, got it. But because it's A&M, we're like, I don't know. They haven't. Same thing with Brian Kelly in that conversation. They haven't, so therefore they won't. I think that is just a 7 kids, 3 jobs level of tired when it comes to the talking points. Like that is just so frustrating to me when we have that kind of discussion. Also, let's take it even further. Look at this year's team for A&M. What do we talk about a lot for teams that we feel good about their roster, but why we don't have them in the college football playoff? The schedule. A&M's schedule, as far as SEC standards go, pretty workable. Looking for that Bama logo, don't see it. Kirby Smart on the schedule, don't see it. Florida and South Carolina in College Station. Toughest game is at LSU. Well, they still played Notre Dame, JD. Don't forget about that. That's true. You got to go to Notre Dame. No way around that. They're going to play a first-year starting quarterback, whether it's C.J. Carr or Kenny Minchey, with some revenge on their mind out there for the Aggies. I think that'll probably play in. I believe in Mike Elko, dude. People say, what's the difference with A&M? Outside of everything I just told you, I think Mike Elko and what he is as a temperature setter for that football team is the difference. Because I think A&M, and I want to be careful how I say this, I think they have, over the course of the last couple regimes, hired outsiders. Like Jimbo Fisher, good football coach, contrary to what people would tell you. I mean, won a national title at Florida State. Hard to call him a bad football coach. Kevin Sumlin had some success, but did they truly get what A&M is, and do they truly understand what they're signing up for when they go be the head coach of Texas A&M? And I think fit is such an overused term when we talk about college football head coaches, because if you win, you're a fit. Make no mistake about it. But I think it's a lot more easy to win at a place like A&M when you understand what that fan base is, how they want their football team to play, what that logo demands of you. And when Mike Elko got hired at A&M, this always struck me, and during his opening press conference, they do the war hymn, right? The whole swaying side to side. It looks a little bit funny if you're watching that thing, for the first time on ESPN or watching on YouTube or whatever it was. But Mike Elko looked very comfortable doing that. Why? Because he'd been at A&M before. He knew every word to the war hymn. He's belting that thing out, dude. He is all the way in on what A&M is. He understands what's expected. He understands their culture, and he embodies that. And quite frankly, what he embodies, what A&M as a football team has been missing. Toughness, culture, competitiveness, grit, stamp, all those things that A&M has not had over the previous regimes, Mike Elko, I think, majors in. And I've said that ad nauseum, but I want to say it one more time because I'm doubling down on it to the point where I'm putting A&M in the college football playoff and putting them in as a 7 seed where they're going to host a college football playoff game. So I hear the pushback for certain fan bases. I expect and understand the pushback. In fact, I applaud the pushback. But if we're talking about A&M here in 2025, let's talk about the 2025 team. Not the 2017, 2018, not the old teams that didn't do what they were supposed to do. Talk about this A&M team. When we start that conversation, I think we start to realize there's a lot of cause for, I think, optimism around that program out there in Bryan College Station. All right? So appreciate you calling in. Staying in the vein of the Lone Star State, got a call from another one of you that thinks Texas is going to win the whole freaking thing. Take a listen.
JD, this is Bane Allen calling from the Latsest Athletics. The only issue I have with the college football playoff field that you put out for Texas next year, I think Texas can go all the way. I am really excited about hopefully seeing a matchup or rematch between Texas and OSU in the national championship year. That's all I got, bro. Could be wrong. That's all I got.
Let me start with this. That would be fun. Texas, Ohio State, a little bookends action. They play in week 1. They play the last game of the season. in Miami, like that, I'd be all the way here for that. Understand this. I hear you. I 100% hear you. Texas right now, according to BetMGM, is the favorite to win the national championship this year. They have the best odds. And it absolutely could happen. Because I've told you how much I like Texas. I told you how I think the defense is going to be the best in college football. I told you I trust Steve Sarkisian in the way he's assessing the offensive line, the way he's assessing the weapons, the ramp up for Arch Manning getting to sit. Now it's finally his time, and the way they manage that. I really like Texas. But here's what I want to just make sure we get aligned on as we move forward throughout the rest of prediction season and into college football season. I don't think it has ever been more difficult in our industry to predict who the national champion is going to be because of what is required now to go win a national championship. Because here's how it used to be. What's your regular season schedule look like? Who could you see in the conference title game? Do you even have to win your conference title to get in the college football playoff? When you make the playoff, you got a one-game semifinal, obviously, and then you get to the national title game and, you're a national champion. It used to be you could rely really heavily on assessing the talent of any given football team to predict them being a national champion. Now, in the new format, it's, okay, just can you get in? Can you get in? Does the committee like you enough at 10 wins and 2 losses to find your way into the college football playoff if that's your record? And then when you do get in, what's your path? Who do you draw? How do you match up? Do you get Penn State's path where you play SMU and then Boise State? Or do you have Ohio State's path where you got to play Tennessee and then you got to go play Oregon in the Rose Bowl? Like, what's the draw for you? Because at that point now, we're not just talking about how talented your team is. We're talking about how do you match up? Can you win in different ways? And so with that being the case now, I think for Texas, we have to start having like these conversations around the 10% difference. Because if you're winning the national championship, and I think Texas is very much so warranted in being in this discussion, you're talking about a 10% difference of really good, making the playoff to going on a run, winning the national championship. That's the 10% difference. The 10% difference to me for Texas comes back to Arch Manning, comes back to who you have at quarterback. And I've said this now for a long time, really since we got into this new format of the college football playoff. When you get to the 12-team playoff, it's expected you're going to play a roster that is of similar to equal caliber of you. And when that happens, you got to look at your guy who touches the football more than anybody else on the football team to make the difference. That's asking a lot of Arch Manning. That's asking a lot of any first-year starter. Big reason why I'm so high on LSU, they bring back their quarterback. Check this out. A first-year starting quarterback has not won their team a national championship since 2020 when Mac Jones did it for Bama. Now, the 2020 season, again, a little bit, unorthodox, the whole COVID deal, whatever. So if you say, asterisk next to that. 2018, when Trevor Lawrence took Clemson to a national championship, was the other time that had happened, the other most recent time that had happened. And again, this is in the 4-team format. So you're telling me you have to play more playoff games, and also what the transfer portal is meaning for just dispersing talent across college football, and you have, I think, more difficult matchups when you get to the playoff. It's going to be really, really hard, I think, for a first-year starting quarterback to lead their team to a national championship. I'm not saying Arch can't do it. I've told you I'm very high on him. I think he's going to be great. If he ends up having it all click for him in the month of December, and he's at that point playing at the peak of his powers, then awesome. Texas has every chance to go win a national championship. Definitely could and maybe will happen. But I want to take a deep breath together on this. Here's what I want us to agree on together on this show. And I understand the Ohio State game is going to happen, and we're probably all going to overreact in the college football public, but I want us to do this together right now. Can we agree as a college football public and as a show, The Hard Count, to give Arch Manning 1 month? Give him 1 month. Because he has started some games for Texas, but he hasn't been like the guy at Texas until this year. That's a lot. And I know the last name's Manning. I know the hype is there. I know he's had time to sit, and I love all of that. But, can we just give it a second to bake before we say he's going to take Texas to win the national championship, or he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, going to be the first-round pick of the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. He's going to bring Nick Saban out of retirement. Can we all just chill for like a 4-week stretch? Give it 4 weeks. Let me see the Ohio State game. Let's get through a few more games, get a pulse on things. By the time you get to Red River, he'll have played 5 games. Give me a month and some change. Give me till Red River before we decide what Arch Manning is going to be. because I think he has those kinds of chops. But I think we forget in modern college football, this stuff is freaking hard, dude. This is a really, really hard thing we're asking of Arch Manning, to take Texas to a national title. Quinn Ewers had 2 stabs at it. Say what you want about Quinn Ewers. He made the semis twice as a starting quarterback at Texas. He had that seasoning, that experience. He had a couple of top dogs around him in what they had on the defensive line that were NFL players, get NFL players at receiver. Like, it's really hard. You have to have a lot go together for you. You have to be, I think, at your best in those moments to get your team to win a national championship. It's really, really hard. Let's give Arch Manning 1 month. We'll circle back, and we'll have a take on it then for you as to his chops and Texas's chops to being the shoe-in national champion. So I love the take. I appreciate the take. I don't think you're incorrect at all in saying you pick them on the national championship, but I want us to just pump the brakes a little bit, and maybe all first-year starting quarterbacks, we can pump the brakes a little bit in that respect. Speaking of first-year starting quarterbacks, Notre Dame, is it Kenny Minchey? Is it C.J. Carr? I don't know, but I went over to Blue and Gold and checked out the board over there. After we gave you our playoff pick, have Notre Dame at 11 in our college football playoff field. We got a friend from we got a call from our friend, Mr. Mike Stinger, with his take on Notre Dame and how we see them in the college football playoff and his issues with it. Take a listen.
This is Mike Stinger, not anyone else. But the biggest problem I have with your college football playoff prediction is Notre Dame at 11 losing to Penn State. Notre Dame's been stuffing Penn State in the locker all off season. They beat them in the Orange Bowl, and if they play again in the playoffs, Notre Dame's going to get that win. Again, this is Mike Stinger. That's it.
So I want to address Mr. Stinger's gripe with where we have Notre Dame seated at number 11 in the college football playoff, because the Penn State part of this, I get the pushback. I understand that. I'm going to come back and say it's July. In July, I just lean quarterbacks. I know who Drew Aller is. I don't know what C.J. Carr will look like in the month of December or what Kenny Minchey would look like. So right now, I lean quarterbacks. I lean experience. So for that reason, I'm going to lean in that hypothetical matchup, Penn State beating Notre Dame. But let's just table that for a second, because the most pushback I got over on the boards over there at blueandgold.com was, man, Notre Dame at 11? JD, you always doubt us. I can't believe you got Notre Dame at number 11 in the college football playoff. And I'm like, I mean, this is me trying to, one, give some reasonable runway to who your starting quarterback's going to be, whether it's Carr or Minchey. Two, this is me speaking highly of who Notre Dame has on the schedule. Last year, Notre Dame loses 2 football games. They're not making the college football playoff. They're not going on that magical run. So we'll start with what I just said a second ago, though, speaking to the runway. Notre Dame and how their schedule aligns with how it starts with a first-year starting quarterback, again, Minchey or Carr, I think it's Carr, it's not ideal. It's not ideal to have to go to Miami and then turn around after a bye week and then play Texas A&M, a place you won in College Station a year ago, but they come to your place in South Bend, revenge on their mind. They know who their quarterback is right now. Like, it's not an ideal setup. So I'm not even saying that you lose both those games, but I am saying that's not the runway that I'm really looking for my first-year starting quarterback. I think it's very fair for us to say we'll see what Notre Dame is in September, but if they can have it rolling by November like they did last year, then okay, it's a different football team. And that's kind of what I think it's lost in this discussion right now as we look at what the expanded playoff is. Teams have the ability to adapt and grow and evolve and reap the rewards of being a different football team in November than they are in September. Like, that's what I think a lot of us that have been championing the regular season have spoken to for a while, is like, hey, every single game means so much. It kind of does, because we're all sickos about this thing, but at the same time, in a much more real sense, it doesn't really. You can lose a game or 2 in September, should it shake that way, and find yourself with the right finish and the right breaks still being in position to go make a run and compete for and win a national championship. So I say all that to get to the point of I'm okay with the quarterback position taking some time to find its footing. And I'm more okay with it because of what I said about the schedule. This is not your grandpappy's Notre Dame football schedule. And schedule Cornell and Yale and a couple of other no-goods to just find themselves undefeated at the end of the season. Like, Notre Dame is going to have some real rigor to their schedule. So I'm not worried this year about them not playing a conference championship game. Notre Dame is going to be in position to where if they go 10-2 And if that 10-2 is with a tiebreaker over Miami, who I think is going to be pretty good this year, that should get you in. In my humble opinion, I think that's what would get you in. So here's my mindset if I'm a Notre Dame fan. Just get us in the playoff, because in playoff mode, I trust Marcus Freeman. JD, say what you want to say, that's fine. 11 seed, 12 seed, doesn't matter what seed we get. Get us in the playoff, and we'll let Marcus Freeman do what he wants to do at that point in time. You've heard of the Mike's Way trend people have been doing on social media. If you haven't, ignore this, but people have been saying on social media, Jersey Mike's, they'll go to Jersey Mike's and just order Mike's Way, and they'll order it in a weird way. They'll say, just let Mike have his way. Let Mike do what he wants. Have it Marcus's way when you get to the college football playoff. Let Marcus have his way. Let Marcus do his thing, because when they get to the college football playoff, Marcus Freeman has proven now in a 1-year sample size, he gets that team right, and they play their best football when it matters the most. All right? Other part of this, I would say get us in the playoff, but let's get us in there where we're finishing the year hot in November, right? Because look at what they have. At Boston College, Navy, at Pitt, Syracuse, at Stanford. Looks like a whole bunch of W's to me. Looks like a buffet of wins to me. At that point in time, your quarterback, you would hope, is playing confident football. You would hope has his feet underneath him. Rosters found their identity. Offense has found their identity. Last year, this is a great example of going back to Notre Dame and the evolution of what's allowed now in college football over the course of a season. I don't think Notre Dame really found out who they were until late October offensively. Very, very different approach to me schematically with what they did with Riley Leonard during the month of November throughout that playoff and what they did early on in the year where you're losing football games. Very, very clear they found their footing and found who they wanted to be. So that's where the excitement is to me. When Notre Dame finds their footing, this team, I think, has a lot more horsepower than what last year's team was. And that's not knocking Jeremiah Love or Gray House or whatever. I think it just truly who you have at quarterback in what I'm assuming will be a CJ Carr-led offense, there is an opportunity to be more multiple with those weapons. Malachi Fields, Will Pauling, Jaden Grayhouse, Faison. You've heard me name those names before if you're a Notre Dame fan and you watch our show. But if not, those are guys that are going to, I think, add a different level of explosiveness, yes, but also different skill sets in that receiver room. And a quarterback now who can actually deliver them the football consistently. Now, you sacrifice what you have with Riley Leonard on the ground probably with CJ Carr, but I think you'll take that when you have Jeremiah Love and all those guys that you need to get the football to in the pass game, and then you have Jeremiah Love in the run game to kind of supplement things and still have that offensive line to enforce your will. So when it does pop, if it does pop in November and you get to the college football playoff, you have it Marcus's way. All bets are off. So that's how I see it right now. I'm just trying to give a little bit of runway here to Notre Dame. And but that schedule, man, you go 10-2. The right 10-2, I think, gets you in. And that's what I think Notre Dame will have. Last voicemail here before we move on to the rest of our show. Some other good stuff. Some DJ Lagway conversation to be had. Want to talk a little bit about what's going on out there in Nebraska for the Camp Intel. Shane got at us and says he thinks we're just a little bit too high on the Ducks. Take a listen.
Hey, JD. It's Shane from Panama City, Florida. Just taking a look here at your CFP bracket, I want to say I think you're way, way too high on Oregon. Between the loss of Dylan Gabriel and Evan Stewart going down due to injury, I do not see the Ducks being as high as the 5 seed, especially over Penn State. Thanks.
So maybe so. Might be right. But here's why I think we're right. The names you just mentioned are totally fair to bring up. Evan Stewart not being available as much as you would like him to be. I mean, you hope he gets back this year. I haven't seen anything on a definitive timetable there. Going to miss some time. Dylan Gabriel was awesome last year. Heisman finalist. He's gone to the NFL. Make no mistake. This is a less proven Oregon football team. I do not believe this is a less talented Oregon football team. That's not me saying anything of what you lost, but you look at how Dan Lanning has recruited, how they've attacked via the portal, what Marshall Malco, essentially Oregon's GM out there, has done with Dan Lanning and how they've built that roster. Less production back, for sure. Less names for sure. They're going to be a wagon this year. Mark my words. They are still, I believe, if not the most talented, I think they are probably the second most talented team in the Big Ten. Now, do you play to your potential? That's the big question here, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't put it together, then, we're just having a conversation about making the Las Vegas Bowl. And Las Vegas is nice in December, but still, I wouldn't want to be there if I'm aspiring to make the college football playoff. I love the way the schedule shapes up because what I just said, unproven, still some guys that got to totally find their footing and get their feet all the way wet, but it ramps up pretty well for Oregon, especially for a first-year starter in Dante Moore in Eugene. Montana State, Oklahoma State, at Northwestern, and then Oregon State. 3 of those first 4 games are at home. Your game on the road is at Northwestern, which, not to knock the good folks out there, I believe it's Evanston, Illinois. Doesn't really intimidate you all that much, where it shouldn't. And then your big test is at Penn State shortly thereafter. Like, through those first 4 games, you should have some time to figure out who you are and to get comfortable. You're not opening up and playing a blockbuster game where you got to go play Texas or you got to go play an LSU or a Clemson. Like, you have some time to kind of tinker with this thing and get it right, which was a big deal for Oregon a year ago when Dylan Gabriel was getting his feet wet. And he wasn't even there for the year before like Dante Moore was. Like, Dante Moore has more runway than Dylan Gabriel does and has a more favorable schedule than Dylan Gabriel had when he was starting quarterback at Oregon a year ago, and it worked out okay. So when you look at that part of it, plus the fact there's no Ohio State, no Michigan, USC could be tricky, but you get them in Eugene. Toughest tests I see on the schedule outside of USC, at Penn State, at Iowa. I mean, if you get one of those, Oregon's going to be in position to potentially play for the Big Ten championship. I told you I think they beat Penn State as we sit here right now in the month of July. I think Penn State actually also drops to Ohio State. So Penn State sitting there at 10-2, Oregon at 11-1. Hey, we're out here, baby. We're in the Big Ten title game. And with them having the head-to-head over Penn State, that's why I have them ahead of Penn State, obviously, in the college football playoff rankings. But I do think a lot of this does come down to what do you get from Dante Moore. Like, if you're out on Oregon, you're probably out on Dante Moore. And that's your own prerogative. But for me, I think that Oregon, talent-wise alone, will be better than just about every single team they have on their schedule talent-wise, maybe outside of Penn State. Any game where it's maybe equal, I think you have a guy in Dante Moore who can make the difference for you. Like, if it comes down to a quarterback duel in the game against Penn State or the game against USC, I think I might lean Dante Moore in that spot. Now, Drew Aller, I think, is the best quarterback in the Big Ten from a proven commodity perspective. But if you're asking Dante Moore to go make some throws against him, I think he can do that. I think at the very least, you're not at a talent disadvantage, I should say, at the quarterback position when you go to Penn State. That's just how I feel about it. Now, one more thing I want to make sure we mention. Another reason why I'm high on Oregon, kind of the unquantifiables, if you will. Like, every year at Oregon, I think the culture just gets more sharp. I think it gets more embedded into what that football team is. And it's fun to talk about culture, and I think culture is maybe an easy thing to get lazy about in our industry because you don't really have to prove anything when you speak to culture. You don't have to reference stats or reference game tape. But remember Oregon last year, they beat Ohio State. It was, one of the games of the year. It was, I'm sure, emotionally taxing. It was the biggest win of Dan Lanning's career to that point. And all of us were kind of like, okay, when is that letdown game going to happen for the Ducks? It's out there somewhere. When's it going to happen? Purdue on a Friday night? Nope. That was the next game. Nope. No worries there. They kept reeling off wins after that. And you saw a game where they looked a little bit sluggish against Wisconsin, still found a way. Like, I think that being the year 3 culture, I can't wait to see what the year 4 culture is for Dan Lanning. Because I think that part of what he is as a head coach doesn't get talked about enough. And it makes a big difference. Like, the teams that play the best, yeah, they're the most talented, but I think they also have the best culture to go with that talent. And I think Oregon's one of those teams. So if we're high on Oregon, so be it. But I have a lot of confidence in Dan Lanning's way of doing things, in his culture, and the way they built that roster. And I think they will be right back in the Big Ten title game playing for the conference here in 2025, which will then put them in the college football playoff. I have them right now as a 5 seed. But let me know your thoughts. 629-888-3931. So, again, appreciate you calling in, adding to the show, man, making it what it is. That has been a really fun edition here during this part of the season. I can't wait for us to get in here on a Sunday morning or a Monday and have that voicemail just chocked full, just stacked up, and hearing from y'all and doing some voicemail shows during the year. So, again, make sure you get at us on there, 629-888-3931. All right. Deep breath, stretch a little bit because this is not a segment I wanted us to do. I feel Cato's eyes just beaming into the side of my temple as we are about to start this segment because we've talked about this on the Huddle podcast for those of y'all that have tuned into that. But DJ Lagway has got some more injury stuff going on. All right. Missed spring practice. I shouldn't say missed spring practice. Did not throw any passes during spring practice because of a lower body injury and a shoulder injury, which you don't feel great about. It's football. It happens. We came on this very show and said, listen, I don't love it. Not overly concerned about it. And Zach Alberverdi reports before Florida starts spring practice from Gators Online, DJ Lagway injured his calf during a team run and was in a boot. Then Billy Napier goes to the press conference before spring ball and says, we got a couple of guys that are going to be modified, limited, day-to-day. First name out of his mouth, DJ Lagway. If you're a Florida fan, your heart just drops seeing this news. You're like, gosh, dang, man. Like, that's the dude that we're all counting on to make Florida football a potential playoff contender. That's the dude we got excited about when we found out Billy Napier was coming back for another year. It's like, okay, well, we don't know how to feel about this guy as our head coach, but we feel great about that guy as the future of our football team. And him being here means Lagway's going to be here. So, like, let's roll. And then now you're sitting here once again saying, okay, like, how healthy is he going to be? Because fall for me, especially fall camp, it's about vibes. It's big for vibes. And this is not good vibes. And there's no other way to really quantify it outside of that. Because in a vacuum, DJ Lagway, having a little calf injury during a team run, not a massive deal. It's not. Like, I don't think that'll be something that, as of what we know right now, isn't going to persist into, October and be a reason why he's unavailable for the game against Georgia or Texas or whatever. But, like, you start to stack these up. Is you have last year, and you have spring practice, and you have this now. And I don't think this is on DJ Lagway, just full transparency. We saw him at SEC Media Days walking around. You've seen the picture of him next to AR. Dude's clearly taking care of himself. Dude's clearly built like a freaking Army tank, all right? So there's that part of it. But you start to get the trend over the course of time, and it's like, well, this injury, that injury, this injury. And it's not on Lagway, but the trends are the trends. At some point in time, I need something good. I feel this way, the same way I felt about when my buddy asked me to go pick up his wedding ring before he got married from kind of, just to be real here, like a sketchy jeweler spot. He was putting together the ring. He was making a beautiful ring by hand. And he tells me like a month before the wedding, hey, brother, I'm going to be at my bachelor party leading into that weekend of the wedding. We're roommates at the time. He says, can you go grab the ring for me and bring it down? And I'm like, it's a big honor. This is a big job. Like, yeah, I got you. Text the jeweler a month before. Hey, I'm going to be there this day. It's like 2 weeks before the wedding when I asked to go pick it up. Does that sound good? Is that going to work? Yeah, no problem. I'll have it for you. Day rolls around. Can I come by today? No, sorry. Still working on it. I've been slammed. Come by this weekend. Weekend comes. Can I come pick it up? Hey, I'm slammed. Still working on it. We get to like, we do this song and dance for the next like 2 weeks, week and a half, whatever, till where it's like, it's the day where I'm supposed to go down to deliver the wedding ring to my guy the day before he gets married. And he's like, the jeweler says this, can I run it down to you? I'm like, no, dude, you can't run it down to me. It's not an issue the week before you're telling me you can't make it happen, or the month before you can't make it happen. When I stack it all together, like, this is a problem. I'm starting to question how legitimate this is all going to be here. Like, can I trust you, jeweler? DJ Lagway, I don't doubt that these are real injuries or these are real issues that we have. I don't think it's on you, but like at some point in time, I need something good. I need to see you throwing the football during spring practice. I need to see you balling out those first couple of weeks. I need something good here. It's how I feel about this whole thing, man. So for DJ, I don't put this on him as much as I put this on the trend. But there is no backup plan. We are all in, chips to the middle on DJ Lagway, baby. And I don't feel any different about the final record prediction for Florida right now. I got them 8-4, but I don't feel better about it. I don't feel better about number 2 behind center when I get more news about my guy being modified during the start of fall camp. Like, doesn't make me feel that awesome. I think I mentioned that Zach Alberverdi broke this news before spring camp. We're clearly in fall camp, so just quick cleanup there. But the thing with me is there's not a bunch of ramp up for DJ Lagway during this season. You got LIU, you got USF to get comfy, and then we're at LSU, at Miami, like a bye week, then we got Texas. There's not a big runway to where if DJ Lagway is not 150% good to go, we got 2 weeks to get it right and get it figured out. Even if he is ready to go during fall camp, We got to get those gears greased, and we got to get everything back to like football full speed mode by the time we play, again, at LSU, at Miami, and run another game against Texas. So this is, a lot of pressure to put on the kid, but that's kind of the deal here if you're talking about what Florida football is going to be in 25. Like, it's on DJ Lagway, man. If you're a Florida fan talking about the playoff, you're not talking about it in the context of if DJ Lagway has a B- season. No, you're talking about DJ Lagway elevating that entire roster, a lot of guys that came back to Florida, top 20 returning production in college football, to elevate them back to a spot they haven't been under Billy Napier and been, quite frankly, in some time out there in Gainesville. So there is no backup plan. It's on DJ Lagway. I'm not panicking yet. I'm not hitting the sound the alarm button yet, but I am saying I don't like this. I don't feel good about this. The trend scares me. I hate this for DJ Lagway because it sounds like a string of bad luck, but I need something good. I need something good from Gators Online. I need something good those first weeks of the season to just make me feel better about this at the very least, in the most measured way possible to say this. This is bad for vibes. We move on. How we do, Cato? How was that? Is it all right? Is it all right? Okay. I wasn't sure we were going to go hard enough there for the boy. All right. I'm sure we'll talk about that on the pod on Friday, and that will be, I think, one of the first times we've aligned on that, which maybe that'll be good for the pod, maybe it'll be bad. I don't know. But speaking of fall camp and good vibes, Husker Online, Nebraska's on 3 site, got all the intel for you. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple doing tremendous work over there, so make sure you have a membership to get all things that you need for fall camp and this season around Nebraska football. Got some intel as to what's going on so far out there in Lincoln. And there's a couple of things I want to break down together here. Before we do that, though, make sure you're subscribed also to this channel, the On The YouTube channel. If you're a Nebraska fan, appreciate y'all rocking with us. We've had a lot of y'all rock with us since this show got rolling, so thank you for that. But if you want all the content around your Huskers and around college football, period, make sure you are subscribed. So the first thing I want to make sure we tackle is camps. It's just getting rolling, so there's not a ton to chew on right now, but some of the intel, some of the buzz right now. There's an alignment in expectations both internally and externally at Nebraska. And that doesn't happen everywhere, especially in year 3. I think year 3, some places are saying you got to go win the national championship, you got to make the playoff, you got to this, you got to that, and then internally within that team, you're like, we're just trying to freaking, as a staff, push this thing to a place where we can be competitive in every game and make a bowl game, and like that to us is success. That's not the case in Nebraska. I think there's a real sense of, okay, now we go in year 3. The first 2 years, we're building it. The first 2 years, would we have liked to have more success? Sure. But like now at this point in time, we understand what the mission is, and that's the same as what our fan base expects, which I think is to go compete in the Big Ten and have a chance to go play in that title game and find yourself in the college football playoff. Have to believe that's Matt Rhule's expectations, at least. But at the bottom line, I think that's really healthy. A lot of optimism heading to fall camp around A1 Dylan Raiola and his football marriage with Dana Holgorsen. Dylan Raiola last year had a couple of moments you just say, oh, okay, that's different. Wow, that's a throw we haven't seen here in Lincoln in a little bit, maybe since Taylor Martinez, if I'm not going too far back there. I just loved how much we saw Dylan Raiola play with more confidence under Dana Holgorsen. And it wasn't so much a thing where you saw him like talking more trash or being more like outwardly confident, but it was like a play style thing. He was getting from that first read to that second read, and when he made a decision, he was firing that thing. There was no second guessing or clutching the trigger, and I think that completion percentage you saw from him at the end of the season reflected that. I mean, he was hovering around 70% over the course of the entire time Dana Holgorsen was the OC. And people miss this. Dana Holgorsen last year was calling the offense that was not truly his offense. Like, he was using like different verbiage and things they already had installed to not totally change the game on his offense and Dylan Raiola in general. But now you've had a full spring, can have a full fall camp to put in your system. I think that's healthy, and I think Raiola is going to thrive because of that. Also, they've done a lot to help Dylan Raiola via the portal. Upgraded the offensive line, upgraded the weapons. What I've been told around the offensive line is that, and Matt Rhule kind of echoed the sentiment at his press conference to open fall camp, it looks how a Nebraska offensive line is supposed to look. And in the Big Ten, that's a non-negotiable. I mean, college football is a line of scrimmage game, but especially in the Big Ten, where you got to play the Michigans and the Iowas and the Ohio States and you got to go through some of those teams to go eventually win a Big Ten championship at some point in time over the course of the next few years. You have to have that. Much less protecting your year 2 quarterback. You have to have that. So for that to be a spot they've arrived now in year 3, really, really encouraging. Elijah Pritchett is, from what I've been told, one of, if not their best offensive linemen. They're excited about Rocco Spindler, transfer over from Notre Dame. They feel real good about that group. All right, so the bully ball is hopefully back at Nebraska to go with one of the most talented quarterback prospects you've had in the last, decade at Nebraska, if we're just going to go ahead and ballpark that thing. Now, the defensive line is an area to watch, all right? A lot of names, though. A lot of names. Riley Van Poppel is one I've been told to keep an eye on. Keona Davis, 6'5", 275 pounds. They're excited about him and how he's going to project. Williams Winery, former 5-star edge defender transferring over from Missouri. Looking to see what he does during this fall camp. Needs a big fall. There's some, I think, cautious concern around that unit from the outside looking in. Here's the one thing I would say, though, if you're a Nebraska fan keeping tabs on all things fall camp leading into the season. The way that Matt Rhule does things is you have to earn a single digit. Like, you only get a single digit for your jersey number if you're a freaking dude. And I think it would be very Matt Rhule-ish for there to be some guys that earned a single digit on the defensive line that we're not talking about right now that end up being studs for you throughout the entirety of the 2025 campaign. Quick story on that. When I was at Baylor, it was Matt Rhule's 3rd year. And Graylin Arnold was lower profile guy for Baylor, played safety, good player, had a single digit the year before, earned a single digit yet again the following season when I was there at Baylor. And I don't know that Graylin Arnold was like making a ton of noise nationally. I think in Big 12 circles people kind of knew who he was, but you're kind of still waiting to see a little bit on what Baylor was as a whole. Graylin Arnold got his 2nd single digit in 2 years, was an All-American safety. Then everyone knew who he was. So I'm not saying it's going to happen on the back end like that, but I am saying just keep a pulse on who ends up earning a single digit and how they could pop. Because if you earn one of those, you're a dude. You're doing things the right way. You've earned the respect of your teammates, of the staff, all that. I would love so much to see like 1 or 2 single digits pop up on the D-line for Nebraska. So to round this out, again, we're very early on in the camp season. Nebraska's just getting rolling. We'll have a ton more notes going forward. But I'm always really curious whenever I get a chance to talk to folks close to these programs, what's the feel like? And Nebraska and Matt Rhule is a curious feel to try to break down for me when I'm trying to get intel on it because I was at Baylor during year 3 in Waco under Matt Rhule. And so I'm trying to kind of ask about this to this person I'm talking to and try to compare the feel. And so I'm just telling them what I'm hearing from Matt Rhule in the press conference and comparing it to how it felt at Baylor. And I said, listen, he's talking about not being, on campus pretty much all summer, being with the family, talking about being kicked out of group chats with the strength coach and players and saying, Coach, go be with your family, go do your thing. We got this. We got this here. And I remember feeling as a player, I've said this before, but I remember feeling as a player during that summer leading into fall camp, dude, the way this team overall is so accountable to each other, so militant in the way that they do things, the way the strength staff does things. Corey Campbell being the guy who's running the show out there, was at Baylor as well, helping run the show. There's no way with the work we're putting in, the attention to detail we're putting in, we're not going to be good. Now, mind you, Baylor wasn't like a playoff team the year before, won the Big 12 the year before I got there. They were like average, won a bowl game. That was success for them. Popped and then made the Big 12 title game that 3rd year under Matt Rhule. And when I communicated that to the person I was talking to, they said, say that on the air. That is exactly how it feels right now. With all the work this team is putting in, with the way it feels culturally, feelings are deceiving, but I think it's true here. There's no way they're not going to be good, is the feeling. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. But for that to be the vibe and to Matt Rhule kind of have that year 3-ish feel to him when you hear him speak, talking about expectations, talking about the way they transformed the roster, all that, I'm really excited to see what Matt Rhule and Nebraska are this year because I think the Rhule year 3 thing is very real. So that's the intel so far out of camp in Lincoln. Excited to get more notes from the folks out there as we move forward. All right, to wrap the show up here, fun little exercise. We did our predictions on Tuesday around the conference title race, around the college football playoff. Kato and I got to talking. It'd be fun just to predict who's going to be the leading X, fill in the blank here for a stat, in each conference. Today I want to go through who's going to be the leading passers in each of the Power 4 conferences across college football. Let's start in the SEC. No surprise here. I'm going with LSU's Garrett Nussmeier, and I could name all the stats for you. Over 4,000 yards last year. That's great. He's back for another year. I think, based on how he's going to be competitive across the rest of the board in the SEC with other college footballs, with other college football quarterbacks in the SEC, I think LSU is going to have a real, cut it loose feel to them offensively from the jump because they trust their dude. There's going to be some other good quarterbacks, I think, as well in the conference. At what point does the coaching staff take the training wheels off those guys? Because you'd have to think for an Arch Manning or a Gunnar Stockton or an Austin Simmons, good quarterbacks could lead the conference in passing. Are they going to just totally let them run right away? I don't know. But I do think that's going to be the case for LSU. Second year in the system for Joe Sloan. Should have a better running game, which you would hope would make for more throws downfield opening up when those safeties creep up. And also the fact that, according to Garrett Nussmeier, they're going to have nobody that runs over a 4-4 in that receiver room. If he's lying, it's an impressive lie, and if it's true, then that's even more impressive. In the Big Ten, I've said this before, I think Ohio State's Julian Sain is going to win that job in Columbus. I think he leads the Big Ten in passing. Couple of things that play into this for me. One is trend. Correlation is not causation, but we should pay attention to correlation. Ohio State has had a quarterback lead the Big Ten in passing every single year since 2017, except for one when Kyle McCord was playing quarterback. They finished second in that category, and then Kyle McCord led all of college football the following year. The other part of this would be stupid to not talk about the weapons. Jeremiah Smith's the best player in college football. I think he's going to win the Heisman. And then you could literally just spend an entire afternoon talking about the rest of the guys in that receiver room. I'll just mention Tate, Mylan Graham, Ennis. You hear what I'm saying. Jelani Thurman at tight end. They're good at tight end as well with the Purdue transfer. They're in a really good spot there. Then maybe as important, if not more important than all of that, the personality of the offense is going to be catered to, I think, throwing the football around. Yes, the strength of the roster, I think, is the receiver position. But you have a receiver coach now, and Brian Hartline calling the show. You ever play Madden against a guy who played receiver in his day or played quarterback in his day or whatever? What do? They throw the freaking football. That's going to be Ohio State. Why? Because Brian Hartline, he played receiver. He comes from the receiver position. That's what he knows. Every single time you have a receiver coach in the staff meeting, he's saying, Coach, we're open. Throw the ball. Well, now Brian Hartline says, Coach, we're throwing the ball because our guys are open because I got the sticks. So with that being said, I think Julian Sain will do big numbers. I think that the receiving core will do big numbers, and I think he will lead the Big Ten in passing in 2025. Now, in the ACC, I'll be real. I wanted to go Miller Moss here. I did. I love Louisville. I love Jeff Brom. I love the trend there. They've had a quarterback go for over 3,000 yards every year, so I'll let that be. But my official pick here is Carson Beck at Miami. There's a great song by Jason Mraz. It goes, I won't give up on us. That's how I feel about Carson Beck. I won't give up on us, man. I won't. You and me. I understand everyone's talking bad about you at Georgia. Everyone's talking about the whole deal on social media, which I quite frankly would maybe have another discussion about and kind of reining that in, but neither here nor there. They're going to be aggressive offensively. Right, say what you want about Carson Beck and how he operates on social media. They're going to throw the football downfield. That much I know is true. Okay, so when you talk about who the offensive coordinator is, similar to our conversation around Brian Hartline and what he's doing at Ohio State, Shannon Dawson, man, he comes from that Mike Leach tree, that Hal Mummy tree, a little air raid action. It's not totally air raid, but it's more like diet air raid, if you will. Miami last year was top 10 in every category when it came to being aggressive downfield. Now, you got to break in the receivers properly, and we've mentioned that before on this show. But I do think that they're going to be, again, aggressive. I think that'll be their identity of their offense. Also, it should be noted, if you were to take Carson Beck's stats from a year ago at Georgia and plug him into the ACC, he would be the second leading returning passer in the conference behind Cade Klubnik. I don't think Cade Klubnik dealt with 37, 36 drops. So just saying, Carson Beck got the arm talent, has the resume. I think he will lead the ACC in passing, and excited to watch him do that out there in 305. Now, the Big 12, taking Josh Hoover, man, from TCU. He finished second last year in the Big 12 in passing behind Shedeur Sanders, but he was 500 yards ahead of who the third-place guy was. Same thing with TCU. They're going to let it rip, dude. Top 25 when it came to yards per pass last year. You lose some pieces on the perimeter. Totally true. But I think that him coming back to TCU, too, came under the pretense of, like, no, we're still going to freaking throw the football around the yard, Sonny Dykes style. And is a big reason why I have TCU playing for the conference title when it's all said and done, because I think Josh Hoover is a freaking baller. All right? So, with that being said, to recap it here, Garrett Nussmeier is going to lead the SEC in passing. Julian Sain will lead the Big Ten. Carson Beck will lead the ACC. And Josh Hoover allegedly got some calls from other conferences to leave TCU. He said, nope, I'm coming back. He's going to lead the Big 12 in passing out there in Fort Worth. Fun show, man. Fun show, fun week. Predictions under the belt. A couple of playoff pushback segments under the belt. If you've got more issues with what we've said on this show, the great part about this whole deal with being digital, there's not this big gap between us being able to communicate. Comment section, message boards, social media, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell, or just hit us up in the Hard Count voicemail, 629-888-3931. Hard Count Huddle coming at you, though, hot on Friday, so make sure you're tuned in to the podcast feed there on Spotify and Apple. But, man, it's our time. Sickos is our time. College football season is here. Fall camp is here. Don't wait till week 0. Don't wait till week 1 to get ramped up. Now's the time. For Caden Smith on the 1s and 2s, myself and JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Happy fall camp. We will see y'all